So we have an aquarium here which is potentially in excess of 20 years old. It was a saltwater aquarium. Now we're looking at redoing this aquarium and giving it a whole new life. Now I'm a big fan of change is king. So I'm a big fan of no matter what fish you've got, no matter what's in your aquarium, for 1 year you love it, then 1 year you like it, then you've seen it. In my opinion, I try to put the aquarium in the most central position possible, somewhere you're likely to be enjoying them very regularly. And then when you find you can walk past your tank without looking at it, then that's time for me. And then what I'll do is just change the ornaments, change the decorations, I'll freshen it all up, and that will tend to get my interest back, so I tend to be looking after it very well. Now, the first concern that we've got about this aquarium is the age of the aquarium. Now, if the aquarium was starting to let go, what you'd find is the silicone will start to go light. Now there's a little bit of bubbling here, which is probably nothing. It probably just means there was a little bit of moisture on the day that the tank was built. So as far as the seal is concerned, that one looks very good, and the one on this side looks even better. So this silicone seal looks very good. There's no sign of it going light. Now also there's a very nice thick 20 mil foam base that this tank's got too. So as far as any high points or whatever, I'm not going to suggest any of that's likely to be a problem. So we've got a couple of fittings there that are at the bottom of this weir. Then we've got a very old school saltwater filter down here. So I'd like to see some marine pure go into this biobowl section, because back in the old days we used to use these bioballs. But what these bioballs do is break ammonia into nitrate, or you could say something you don't want into something else that you also don't want. Whereas the new medias that we've got available also offer parallel denitrification, so it gets rid of the nitrate as well, so that reduces your maintenance. So I'd want to put some marine pure in there, and then I'd look at putting a sheet of polyfilter over the top. Now polyfilter is basically God's gift to fish tanks, because it will remove anything impure from the water. It will change colour to tell you what it's removing, and then when it's finished it turns black. So it'll remove all your particles, all your accumulants and everything. So in this section here, I'd have some polyfilter and marine pure. Then you've got a protein skimmer. By all means, we could run that and just call it an oxygen reactor, but it's not really going to do a lot. Then there's a return pump in the back, which is going to return the water back to the aquarium. So a saltwater filter is a very good freshwater filter. A freshwater filter is typically not a good saltwater filter. So there's no issues there. Now we also have a very large canister filter. So we'd check what media is in there. And once again, marine pure is the main media we'd want in there. Now the other thing we could consider doing is, due to the amount of media we could put in there, we could potentially just put nothing in there. And if we put nothing in there, that means number one, we don't have to clean it. And number two is the chances are we're going to fit enough marine pure for the whole tank anyway. So over filtering isn't necessarily a benefit, because the filter is like apartments for the bacteria to move into, and they're only going to get as much bacteria as the amount of waste being produced by your fish. So if it was up to me, I'd probably empty that one. I would put marine pure and polyfilter in there. I would decide whether to run the skimmer or not. That really wouldn't bother me too much. And then we've got a top-up tank. So the top-up tank, I'm not sure I'd use that at all if I'm using a freshwater tank. So as far as the saltwater tank's concerned, you can use that for a quarantine, or you can use it for topping up for your water changes by getting the water right before you use the water. So I'm not sure I'd bother with any of that. I'll do a review on what the lights are in this tank. Well, we could easily put some nice LED lights that are going to look fabulous and bring up the fish. Now, as far as the tank of this age, you'd expect a little bit of scratching. I'm not really seeing it. I'm not sure that all this wouldn't just clean out. So if I look down the side, normally that's how I see the scratches. So I'm definitely not saying there's none, but it actually doesn't look that bad to me. So our next plan of attack would be to fill the tank up, run it and test it. Then once we've run it and tested it, we then can dress it all up, put some beautiful African cichlids in there, and we just slowly populate the tank up. So we'd want to do it nice and slow. We'd start with the tank dry and just fill it up and run it. Then once we're confident that there's no water appearing anywhere, which I'm not expecting there to be. So, but in saying that too, all of the foam is very, very clean. So if this tank did have any pin drop leak, this foam, which is beautifully clean, would be all moldy. You'd see like an algae mold. So looking at this tank, I'm pretty much very confident that it has never leaked. And because it's in the same position that it's been for a long time, I'm pretty much going to bet that it's not going to leak. In saying that, if we were to move this aquarium somewhere else, due to the age of the aquarium, I think the chance of it leaking is then significant. But what happens with silicon is that you put it in position and it settles. Now, over 20 years, this silicon would have become more brittle. And if we were going to settle it somewhere else, it's not exactly the same position in reference to its leveling, then I think the chance of it leaking is definitely something to talk about. But because this has not moved for 20 years, I think the chance of it leaking is actually quite low. Actually, I can tell you now that I just recently been filling up an aquarium that Laurie put in the bar, who installed the tank with me about 30 years ago. And that tank was not used for a long time. And we recently filled it up and run it, and it's going beautifully. And so that one was 30 years old. That was much older than this one. And that tank's doing very well. So according to what I can see, I don't think this tank has leaked, and I don't think it will leak. But due to its age, you're definitely not going to make any promises. So we just start small, and then we just test it. And then if we start seeing any sign of leaking, then we can look at either resealing or replacing the tank.